everyone, welcome back to Onyx Pages. This is my mid-year book Freakout tag. Yes, so this tag was created by Cami and Ailey. They're at different booktube channels, so I'll make sure to link their channels in the description box below. Let's get into it. The first question is, what was your favorite read so far of the year? I can't decide on my favorite read, so I have 9. I have 9 books that I want to tell you about that are all my favorites right now for different reasons. So I'm going to start off with 3 short story collections. All right, so the first one is Two Moons Stories. This collection is a collection of short stories written by Crystal A. Smith. The book is published by BLF Press, so Black Lesbian Feminist Press, and it was published in 2018. I loved this collection, and there's an interview with Crystal as well as a review of this book on this channel, so check that out. But the short form is that I felt like this book affirmed Black queer lesbian magic for me in a way that no other collection of short stories has. And Crystal is gifted. She is able to bring the cosmos near to us and bring us closer to the stars in a romantic, very Black, very melanin-rich way. I commend this to you. The second collection I want to talk about is a collection of short stories by Tanana Reeve Dew called Ghost Summer. I've been wanting to read this for quite some time. So Ghost Summer was published by Prime Books, and the year is 2015. Tanana Reeve Dew is a horror writer. Among many other things, she is an educator. She is I think horror is her main genre, but she knows so much about Afrofuturism, and she teaches Afrofuturism and horror, and you can check out this channel as well. There's an interview with her from the WizCon convention last year, and she also, along with Steve Barnes, her partner, who's also an incredible writer, they have online courses on Afrofuturism that you can take if you'd like to learn more about the genre and learn more about horror in particular. Anyway, Ghost Summer is creepy. The stories get under your skin just straight off the bat. There was this one story that is loosely related to mermaids and also murder, and it was creepy. What I loved about this collection is that not only was it creepy, but it also really got me thinking about the horror of the horrific elements of Black life in North America, and even though Black folks in these stories confronted really scary things, each of the stories had very strong characters who were able to use their resources in order to survive. Several of the stories have very courageous children in them who have to deal with a lot of scary stuff. So I'll leave it there, but this was an amazing book. It was blurbed by my favorite writer, Nalo Hopkinson, and I should also say that Two Moon Stories was blurbed by Jewel Gomez. So yes, you should also check that out. And then the third collection that I want to talk about is Try Looking Ahead. This tiny pleasure was published by Rosarium Press, and all of the stories are written by Jason Rodriguez, and this is a 2014 publication. Try Looking Ahead, I didn't know what to expect. This is my first read from Rosarium Press, and Rosarium Press, you'll see in my WizCon video coming up, is it's a press that focuses on science fiction and Afrofuturism. I have some of the works that I'll be talking about in some of the questions in this tag. But I loved this because these stories are very urban, very, very people of color, very urban, lots of magical kids. and preteens who are into science and into STEM and are able to deal with stuff like bullying and sexual orientation through their engagement with science fiction. The stories are funny, they're fly, and if you're wanting to get into short stories that get you thinking about Afrofuturism and science fiction within an urban context, but you don't want to read long tomes, you should probably check out Try Looking Ahead. This might also come up in the stories that made you cry, because there were a few stories in here that put water to my eye. Next, I'll talk about 2 middle grade reads. So Dragons in a Bag is written by the wonderful Zetta Elliott, and this one's published by Random House, and most of her work is self-published. And this came out in 2018, and this tells a story of a boy who discovers that his ma is more than she appears to be. And it just takes us into this magical world with dragons, obviously, but where people who we see on the street, like that guy sitting on the bench with all the bags who doesn't smell really great, that those people can actually be magical folks that hold the keys to different dimensions. And I really like the messages. A lot of Zetta Elliott's writing is not only character rich and plot rich, but also it's rich in terms of principles and messages. So this gets at classism, it gets at the strength of women in single parent families, the importance of extended family, and the importance of magic and strong friendships among children. So I really enjoy Dragons in a Bag. It's definitely one of my favorites for middle grade. And the other middle grade favorite that I have is Hurricane Child. So Hurricane Child is written by Kaysen Callender. They've changed their first name, so they go by Kaysen Callender. And this title was published by Scholastic Press in 2018, and this is the first book of Kaysen's work that I've ever read. It's a gorgeous story, and there are a number of different booktubers who have talked about it. You should check out Bookie Charm's review of this, and I think also Yvette at Book Cave has also done a review of this as well. So this is a story of Caroline. Caroline she's a sad kid. She's a sad kid because her mom disappeared, and she doesn't know why. She doesn't know where her mother went. She's being bullied in school. She's coming into an understanding of her own sexual orientation. She's dealing with a shadowy figure that shows up here and there, and she's just a beautiful child, beautifully resilient, beautifully vulnerable, smart, sassy, courageous. She's the kind of kid I would have wanted in my class in grade 4, grade 5. And there's just a really lovely, sweet, connection between her and another girl in the book. So I loved Hurricane Child, and I can't wait to read Kaysen Callender's next works. So this was a wonderful read. Okay, now let's get a little bit older. So we have Magnifique Noir. So this is a debut. It's a novel, but it's so much more than that. So Magnifique Noir, this is book 1, I Am Magical, and this is written by Brianna Lawrence. I believe that it is a self-published work. Yeah, so it's independently published, and it was published in 2017. So Magnifique Noir, it got me in my feels. I actually cried with this one as well. There's been a lot of crying for this past 6 months for a lot of reasons, but Magnifique Noir tells a story of a group of, I guess, 19, 20, 21-year-old college students who are also superheroes. And it's giving me, I didn't realize it at the time, but when I did some research afterwards, I realized that it gives me like Sailor Moon vibes. It gives me Power Rangers vibes. So there's a lot, for those of you who are gamers or who are familiar with like you know, a band of heroes getting together and doing stuff as superheroes, each with different colors, you know, with different skills, and they all power up and work together, like that kind of vibe. This is a group of plus size, Black, queer, genderqueer superheroes who are in college and who are fighting monsters. And it is perfect. This is a perfect book. It's perfect. I loved everything. I loved everything about it. I'd love to hear more booktubers talk about it, but one of the things I really love about it are the awesome illustrations. So there are some really great, very beautiful, satisfying illustrations by different illustrators, and you'll notice that when you read it, Brianna's really careful about making sure that she sets out like who drew the illustrations on the page, and then she also has links to their websites. Like really, you can tell that as an artist, not only is she really conscientious, but she also wants to make sure that all of the artists that contribute to this work also get notoriety. She is a cosplayer, she is queer. Her and her partner, they both are cosplayers, and I believe that they're both gamers. And she just seems to be such an amazing person, but also this book was a labor of love. I believe that she funded it at first through Kickstarter and then had to do it again through Indiegogo and got a lot of support. So I really commend this to you. I think you should pick up this book. She's working on a second one, and it was just absolutely wonderful. The next book is The Stars and the Blackness Between Them, written by Janauda Petrus. This is a debut. I've got an arc here. It's published in 2019. It's coming out in September, and it's published by Penguin. This book made me cry. It made me laugh. It was familiar to me. It is a story of love and magic between two Black girls, one who's Trini and the other who is American living in Minneapolis. This story, though, I really loved it on so many levels. I loved the familiarity of the Trinidadian culture that just comes through. So the dialect, the food, the relationships, the response to homophobia. All of this is really real in the book, and I love how real the characters feel. And I love the subtle and light hand that Janauda took with magic. This book is really wonderful. It's a great debut. I would love to see more from Janauda, and I have to say I had the absolute pleasure, and it was a complete pleasure meeting Janauda at the Emergent Strategy Immersive last year. We didn't really get a chance to talk because I was exhausted, so I ended up sitting beside her on a bus and falling asleep. And she let me sleep because she's cool like that. But she is just so creative, so warm, so genuine, such a beautiful, luscious, brilliant woman. I really enjoyed reading this book because she told me she was writing it, and it was so amazing to hear her talk about it as a work in progress, and then to see her talk about it on Facebook, and then to see the cover art, and then to get an arc of it, and then to read it, and to be Facebooking her being like, oh my God, I'm on page 78, I love it. And now I'm on page 115 and I love it. So it's a beautiful story. So you should definitely pick it up when it comes out in September. All right, two more for my favorites. Elysium by Jennifer Marie Brissett. This was written, I think, a few years ago, 2014, published by Aqueduct Press. I loved this book. However, it was a mind scramble. It's partially told from the perspective of a computer program, and it switches, the characters switch gender. It goes forward and backward in time. It's an odd story. I believe this is also a debut. This was a debut, but I have to say, like, The thing that I loved most about this book was how disorienting it was, but also how rich it was in the description of the settings, the description of the characters. Even though they changed genders and changed time periods and identities, you could still get a great sense of them through all of these changes. This book is really hard to describe. It's just really great. So I enjoyed it. You can check out my haul video where I do a better job of giving you a synopsis. I can't give you a synopsis of this except to say this was a wonderful read and I enjoyed it. I was puzzled for so much of it, but the reading experience was amazing. All right, so the last collection I want to talk about is Filter House. Filter House is a collection of short stories written by the amazing Nisi Shawl in 2008, published by Aqueduct Press. And for those of you who follow Ifa or Yoruba, the Yoruba tradition, you will notice a lot of reverence to the Orisha throughout the stories in here. Very, very queer, very poly in places. Just a really beautiful collection of short stories. I finished this yesterday in a cemetery. That's another story. And I grew deeply in my respect for Nisi as a writer. And I found out about Nisi Shawl because Nalo Hopkinson told me about their work and said, you need to be reading Nisi. You have to be reading Nisi. And if you're not reading Nisi, you need to get on it. You can look at my interview with Nisi Shawl. There are two, one from the Other Futures Conference in Amsterdam in 2018, and then one from WizCon in 2019. Nisi Shawl is a technically exquisite writer, but their imagination is so rich and so full. And I find that when I read their books, so I've read Everfair now, and I've also now read Filter House, and I'm working through their bibliography of short stories, and I've also heard their stories read by LeVar Burton, Black Betty, a short story, which is really wonderful. I love Nisi. I also think that they're an amazing writer, and the stories in here have different voices. They sometimes put a light touch on their stories in terms of magic. So you might be reading, there's one story about a woman who is a nanny, a black woman who's a nanny to a white boy, and her biological son died. She ends up being kidnapped by the chauffeur that's hired by the family she works for, and we're taken through this kidnapping. And, you know, as I was reading it, I was like, okay, where's the magic? Where's the magic? Where's the, when is some god gonna like pop out of nowhere? And I got to the end of it and then realized that I was inside of the magic and didn't realize it. I didn't know. And I found myself turning back and flipping to references and starting to be able to like sort of draw a line, like a line between stars and a constellation, and then all of a sudden this brilliant like magical tapestry just showed itself to me, and I was like, this is so cool. So if you haven't read any of their work, you need to read Nisi Shawl. Amazing writer. So that's my answer to number one, and it's already 20 minutes long, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, question number two. This will be fast because I have no answer to many of these questions. So question number two is best sequel you've read so far in 2019. I haven't. Third, best new release you haven't read yet but you want to. I have a few of those. So I definitely want to read Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. I want to read Pleasure Activism. This is a new release by Adrienne Marie Brown. I think it came out in February. And this this is a disaster. New Suns, which is edited by Nisi Shaw. And when did this come out? Collection of short stories. 2019, Solaris. Yep. And I also want to read Unraveling by Karen Lord as well. So those are 4 new releases that I want to read. I'm not going to talk about them, but those are 4 that I want to read. So you can find out more about them. I think I might have talked about them in a haul. Okay, most anticipated read for the second half of 2019. I'm not good at questions like most. What's your most this and what's the best that? Because there's a bunch of them. But I would say that there is a book that I received that I'm really thrilled that I received, and I'm looking forward to reading it. And that is... I'm starting to get book mail as a booktuber, so I'm very happy about that. So Black Lesbian Feminist Press, thank you very much for sending me an advanced review copy of Black from the Future. This is a collection of Black speculative writing, and it's edited by Stephanie Andrea Allen and Lauren Sherrill. So this is... I'll just read this in the back. So Black from the Future, a collection of Black speculative writing, encompasses the broad spectrum of Black speculative writing, including science fiction, fantasy, magical realism, and Afrofuturism, all by Black women writers. Editors Stephanie Andrea Allen and Lauren Sherrill have gathered the voices of 20 emerging and established voices in speculative fiction and poetry, writers who've imagined the weird and the wondrous, the futuristic and the fantastical, the shadowy and the sublime. So some of the contributors are Jewel Gomez, Alma Levon Rice. I'm looking at the names that I recognize. And that's actually it for names that I recognize. So most of these people, most of these writers are new to me. I just can't wait. I don't know of another collection of Black women speculative writers. So I love it. And it's got a beautiful cover as well. So maybe you can see that. Okay. All right. Biggest disappointment, that I can answer. So that was Trish Trash, Roller Girl from Mars, or Roller Girl of Mars. This is written by Jessica Abel, and it's the story of a girl who, I believe that in this world, families are indentured and they work, they live on Mars. It's 200 years in the future, and she wants to escape poverty, and she wants to do that by becoming a roller girl. So that means that she can race and make money and help herself and help her family. And this book had a lot of potential. The character is Black, I believe, but besides the fact that she was colored brown, and I think that's it. Like, there really wasn't much about her experience that spoke to me as a Black woman. And so I was a little bit disappointed. I was expecting more, but it was kind of flat. I mean, it was a nice story, and I will continue reading it, but like, it was it was just and I'm like, but she's Black and she lives on Mars and it's 200 years in the future. Like, that's so cool, but it wasn't cool. It was just meh. So there we are. 7, favorite new author. I mean, I feel like I enjoyed it, reading it, but it disappointed me because I wanted more. Okay. Favorite new author. It'll be Janauda, and I'm saying her name wrong, I'm sure, but Janauda. She's my favorite new author right now. Newest fictional crush. I don't do that. Newest favorite character. Newest favorite character is Audrey from The Stars and the Blackness Between Them, because she's Trini and she is so confident in her magical abilities, and she can dance, and she's got swagger, and she's so cute. So she's my favorite new character right now. So they're screaming children because we share space here. So the story that made me really happy. So question number 11 is a book that made you really happy. So The Wonder of All Things by Jason Mott was published in 2014 by Mira. And this is the story of a girl, Ava, who realizes that she has the power to heal. And very shortly after she realizes it, her small town realizes it. And as a result, this melee ensues. People start, like, the religious communities across the US start coming to her, flocking to her little town. Everybody wants to use her magic. Everybody wants to, has an agenda now. And she's just a girl trying to figure out how she deals with, you know, the suicide of her mother, right? And so what made me happy about it, you might be wondering, because it actually sounds really sad, what made me happy about this is the relationship between Ava and her friend. And it's just a really heartwarming story. It gives me feels like My Girl, stories between two kids, just, you know, me and you against the world kind of vibe. So that story made me happy. And in a very strange way, this book made me happy as well, even though it thoroughly confused me and I still don't know exactly what was going on. So this is Looking for Livingstone by Marlene Norbies Phillip. This was published by Mercury Press in 1991. This is weird. It's a weird story. And it's about a woman who's traveling through time to find out to find out more about this white man who discovered Africa, or supposed to have discovered Africa. And the premise is really amazing. The writing is poetic in places. It is, it's like a fable in other places. It's very hard to understand in some places. But if you're familiar with the writing of Norbese, then you, like, Norbese wrote Zong, for example, and Harriet's Daughter, which is published, I think, in the early 90s as well. But it made me happy because there was something very powerful about a woman being able to use time travel to deal with colonization and to throw some cuss words at European colonizers. So it made me happy for that reason. Okay, it's getting very dark. Can you still see me? Okay. Favorite book to movie adaptation you saw this year? I have none. Favorite review that you've written this year or that you've posted? My favorite review was the review of Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, because it was hard and I did it and I'm proud of me. Most beautiful book that you've bought so far this year? I'm really digging the cover of Black Leopard, Red Wolf, and it's also that sort of velvety texture. I'm into texture as well as color, so definitely that. And The Unraveling by Dr. Karen Lord also has a velvety cover, and New Suns is gorgeous, so there's that. All right. Finally, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Bear with me because there's like 20, so I'm just going to give you the names, and I'm losing light, so that's all I can do. Okay, so Survivor by Octavia Butler, The Galaxy Game by Karen Lord. M Archive by Alexis Pauline Gumbs. I need to finish Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. And I also need to read Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Marie Brown. I also have not read the Dreamblood duology by N.K. Jemisin. So I've got those to read, The Killing Moon and The Shadowed Sun. I've got a few books here from Zetta Elliott, so The Deep and A Wish After Midnight, and you should check out Musical Tati's review of A Wish After Midnight. 2 graphic novels about young people conquering bad corporations. So Everything is Wonderful, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Janine Carrington. Oh, okay. Tananarive Dew's Joplin's Ghost. So this is Sunspot Jungle. It's a collection of fantasy and science fiction. Most of the authors, all of the authors are people of color. I think 30% are female. There are a bunch who are queer. This is also, this collection was put together by Rosarium. And then I want to reread Brown Girl in the Ring by Nalo Hopkinson. It is so, I'm losing so much light. Okay. And We'll Do Magic for Small Change by Andrea Hairston. Almost done. Okay, so I have read the second collection of Afrofuturist speculative writing by Black folks, Dark Matter. That one was called Dark Matter, Reading Down the Bones. This is the original Dark Matter. This is the first collection of Afrofuturism writing put together by Cherie Renee Thomas, and this was published by Warner Books in the year 2000. This is a first. I have never read this. I need to read this. I want to read this year. And then finally, I got comics, y'all. Okay, so this is the Sandman Universe House of Whispers. I have like a bunch of these comics by Nalo Hopkinson. It's getting so dark. I'm losing light, oh my God. And then I bought several volumes of Shuri, which is out of the world of Wakanda, and those are comics / graphic novels written by Nnedi Okorafor. And that's it. That's all I got for you. Thank you very much for watching. It is dark. I'm gonna upload this and we'll just see what happens. I hope that you are enjoying your reading. I've been really enjoying watching the mid-year Freakout tags by other folks, so I will see you in my next video. All right, bye.